Hey, what's up guys? I'm coming at you now with a video on the updated list of the third set of Yu-Gi-Oh! Heroclix. It is compared to the second set, it just doesn't compare. It's so much better. There's actually figures here that you actually might want. The second set was pretty disappointing in the commons and uncommon sort of section, but this actual set it's just full of very interesting cards and very interesting figures. So yeah, I did an early video on what had already been leaked, but now the entire list is on HC Realms. So please do check it out. But I'm just going to dive straight in. The first comment is Yugioh. I think this card was from Invasion of Chaos or something, but at least it was from an actual set, unlike 3 of the commons or uncommons in the last set. He's a bit expensive for what I sort of want out of over 100 point figure, but that's purely because of this 16 defense here. I really don't like. I'd be fine with a 17 starting, but 16 starting even with Impervious, I'm just not fond of. But he swims and he's indomitable and he's got 10 attack and super strength with over 100 points. Is always great, of course, because you can use those ultra heavies. This guy's got a good point here. Why is he wind? He is a water type in the game, so no idea what's up with that. It looks like he's a durable enough figure, but I don't think I'd pay him for over 100 points. Next we got a Camine Wizard, a card that was released in the OCG straight off the bat, but we never got it in the TCG until a couple of Astral packs ago, in which it was short print, and I'm very lucky to say that I do have one of these. It's not a great figure, but it looks like it has its uses. With Psychic Blast you don't really need a sort of movement power. Well, Phase and Teleport's always useful, I guess. You don't need like running shot or anything like that, because, well, it doesn't work with it. 5 range is always a bit crap with Psychic Blast, but he's 57 points, and there's Prop Control there, Perplex there, a bit of Precision Strike there, solid 2s at least. That's not too bad for 50 range. It's penetrating 2s at the start. So all in all, I think he's an alright figure. He's not going to do much, but he's going to do enough. And this 16 looks low, but with Energy Shield is an 18, so you can't really argue that. Next is Revival Jam. This is a really cool figure. Random 2 range. Don't really understand that, but yeah, anyway. Random plasticity to start with, well to go right the way through. That's pretty interesting, and a bit of incapacitate here. What I'm loving about him is these 2 random 3s here. They're really cool, and then of course the regeneration at the end here. Shape change right the way through is always great, especially since this is 50-50 chance of it. And the regenerative body, basically, when he's KO'd, you put him onto click 5, which is here, and then place a special terrain marker where he was. The square can't be occupied as long as the terrain marker is there, and basically, he's like Lazarus Pits. Basically, at the start of every turn, he heals up, and then when he gets to click 1, I think, yeah, when he gets to click 1, he comes back in the special terrain marker. But the best part about him is you do not get extra victory points for it. So in, say, a constructed event like the Battle of the Millennium event, it's not going to be a very it's not going to be overly common occurrence, because if you think about it, he's got all this shape change going through him, so that you're probably going to focus on the main part of the team and take this guy out last, or I would anyway, and then therefore he's not going to have a chance to come back. But if he does get knocked out first and then does come back, it is very great use of only 52 points in your constructed event. Next we've got Spirit of the Harp. This is a very interesting piece as well. A bit of mind control right the way through, but only 4 range. That's not so good. But you know, she's only 60 points. It could be worse. And again, incapacitate, only 4 squares. It's not so great, but you know. Then we've got the support power is Barrier, and of course Enhancement is a really cool power. And a bit of Energy Shield at the end of the day. And we have a trait which allows her to take a power action and choose a friendly character, and both characters can use willpower that turn. I mean, willpower does make it a bit better. If you've got someone in range who you can hit with this mind control, doing it twice is quite helpful. And then of course giving willpower to characters that don't already have it is it's very kind of her. Next is the figure I'm most disappointed about. This used to be one of my favourite cards, Wing Weaver. she starts off really, really bad. Like, she's got an 18 defend, which that's not. There's no point in having defend and support if you've got an 18 defense with a defend. That's just stupid. The point of these two powers tagging together is that you have about a 14, and then you give the friendly character a 14. It makes it easier to hit them. Not a fan of this incap either, and the Earthbound just sucks. The reason I hate this is because this used to be my strongest card. I pulled this from a Heroclix Pharaoh Servant pack, and I was like, wow, this thing's awesome. And looking at the click, it just doesn't do it justice, to be honest. Like, obviously she's not great in the modern game now. This is probably sort of what she has in the modern game now, but like, you know, it's pretty disappointing. But she is 98 points, she is cheap. But literally, this isn't a bad activation click, but you really need to push onto this. And, you know, she's not got a bad dial, it's just a very disappointing dial. But all in all, if you get a regen off, get back up 1, 2, 3, 4 to here, she's probably gonna do a fair bit of damage with the charging exploit in the and flurry with 3s in the in like a constructed event. But other than that, I don't think I'd play her, and that's quite disappointing. Next is probably one of, if not the most OP figures in the set. It's Witch of the Black Forest, and like always, it reflects Sangan but backwards. And what Sangan does is removes an action token when it's KO'd from up to 3 friendly characters whose total point value is 150 or less. This one does 300 or less, so that is phenomenally good. You can take an action token off 300 point characters, which is pretty good. And then of course there's enhancement here, which, as I'll get onto a bit later on, enhancement is ridiculously good with some of the lower figures. And then a bit of precision strike at the end. You can't really go wrong with precision strike on anyone. So yeah, she's a pretty cool figure. Next we have Manita Bug. This guy is ridiculous. We have like we have a bit of sidestep. I love a bit of sidestep. And then BCF for 3 clicks and a 1 at the end, which is great. And then super senses, and it's only 55 points. So your sidestepping is not charging, but it's better than nothing. And I do like a bit of sidestep. So he is able to do he will be able to do a fair bit of damage for 55 points, and then when he's KO'd by an adjacent opposing character, you have a 50-50% chance of dealing the attack of 3 penetrating damage, and you cannot really argue with that. That's pretty cool. So next we go to the last common, which is Petite Angel. It sort of reflects Key Mace and Happy Lover in that from the first set. It's a cheap bit of enhancement. And a bit of sidestep isn't great, I suppose, but you know. And if you shoot her from range, she does go up to a 20 defense, but so she's going to be a decent shield, but you know, she's not really like that great. Next we go to the uncommons. Aquamador. Very disappointed about the 17 defense here. Granted, the stats of the cards and the stats of the clicks don't really reflect each other, but I think he deserves at least an 18. But he can use barrier. When he does, he can use Incapacitate as a free action, as if he, targeting an adjacent character next to the barrier token, ignoring range or line of fire. So that's pretty cool. It extends his range from this crappy 4 here. Again, 4 isn't great with Psychic Blast, but it's not terrible either. We've got a bit of probability control here for some reason. That's always great. A bit of Incapacitate later on, and some Perplex later on. That's... all in all, he's a bit expensive considering he's not doing anything spectacular, but as a barrier piece, he is pretty cool, and he is going to do some damage as well. Next, we have Cyberjar, another very disappointing figure. When it's killed by an opponent's attack, everyone within 7 squares takes 1 penetrating damage. Very disappointing considering what Cyberjar actually does compared to what Morphing Jar does, and so on and so forth. But whatever, Fiberjar was pretty disappointing as well, so never mind. It does have a bit of Perplex at the start. This shape change at the end is just going to stop you from getting at this. But, you know, you can't argue with him for 30 points. Sayaryu, another really cool card. I'm not massively disappointed by the... I'm not massively disappointed by the dial, although he would be awesome if he had like a second target there for this energy explosion with running shot. But, you know what, he's not too bad. I've never really done Pulse Wave with Sidestep, but that's probably a pretty cool tag team. I'm not fond of the 100 points, only 6 clicks, but you know, that's such is the game that we've came to play now. Indomitable's always great, of course. Next one is Hayabusa Knight. this guy is a pretty cool figure. He's only 35 points for plenty of flurry and plenty of blades as well. For Heroclix, but we're not going to lag around that one very long. Magician of Faith. Luckily, this actually does have its power. Only problem is, unless you use a lot of spell and traps in your constructed games in Battle of the Millennium, then you're not going to get it off very often. She also has Psychic Blast. When she does, hit character gets an action token if they already have one. This figure is far better than the actual card in terms of fighting, and that is the problem with Yu-Gi-Oh! Heroclix. It's just not really that sort of reflective of each other. But yeah, she's a pretty cool piece. Next we're into the rares. I haven't actually looked at these yet. You could give Exit Cannon as Energy Explosion, give him a double power action. You may immediately give up to 2 range combat actions as free actions. Okay, so I'm guessing, I think Energy Explosion is a range combat action, isn't it? It's not a power action, so you can make 2 Energy Explosions with 2 targets, so that's pretty cool, and he's doing 3 damage as well. So that's pretty awesome, and he gets a bit of sidestep later on, you can't really argue with that. 120 points, I think I'd pay it for him. I think he's doing his value in 120 points. Next is Y Dragon Head. What do we have? Give Y Dragon Head a move action and move it in a direct line. When it does, opposing characters occupying 1 or more squares Y Dragon Head move through are dealt 1 damage. That's pretty cool. You know, it does damage for movement, and I'm pretty sure you could probably tag that with a move action for a transporter and make an attack afterwards. But he is going to get -2 of those 10, so it is going to go down to 8. I rarely use transporter ability if I don't have an 11 attack, but you know, it does get its use. And then he's got a fairly meaty defense, considering it's only 1600 points in the actual game. And we have a nice bit of range combat expert and solid 3s for the first 5 clicks, so you can't really argue with that. And finally we have Z Metal Tank. Adjacent friendly characters modify the defense and damage values by +1. You can't really argue with that either. He's definitely not the best of the 3, but he's definitely going to work well with the 3, giving them +1 defense and damage. I mean, look at this. This goes up to 4 with range combat expert, so you can do up to 6 damage with a Y Dragon Head then. And then what they lead into is either the XY Dragon Cannon, which is, it's pretty good. It's nowhere near as good as XYZ though. His attack special power here gives him Energy Explosion, Poison and Precision Strike. So he can do Energy Explosion for 2 targets for 4 damage with an 11 attack and Running Shot. And you can't really argue with that. He's got a bit of Impervious as well, can't really argue with that. And of course there's the enhancement here, which, you know, I don't really usually like that on my big pieces, but it is always helpful on any piece, to be honest. And then we've got Indomitable as well, which is, it's kind of a staple for a 200 point figure. If you don't have Indomitable at 200 points, I will not play you. And then we got another sidestep later on, which is always fun to play around with. Next we have Buster Blader, which is the second super rare. I haven't looked at this either. It looks like he turns into Horn of the Unicorn. Give the set character a power action and modify its attack value by +1. Is that it? Yeah, that sucks. The set character must not be on its starting click. When the set character is KO'd, you may activate this trap. All opposing characters within 6... Okay, both of those spell and traps are pretty disappointing for what the spell and traps are. Dragon Sword. Buster Blader can use Blaze Claw's Fangs. When he attacks a character with Dragon in its name and uses it, he may roll 2d6 instead of 1 and replace his damage value with either. That's pretty good. And finally, he's got Combat Reflexes and Invincible in the middle here. So, I don't think he's as good as Guy is from the first set, but that's only because I think Guy has Indomitable. Not Indomitable, I think he has Transporter, but I'm not sure. But all in all, points, you're not looking better than 12, 18 Fawn and a bit.